29. I'm directly to you. That's right. This is the 29th entry, the 29th consecutive week of our YouTube podcast here on youtube.com/fanatics4. It's not on the channel anymore, but if you go on our featured channels, you can see directly to. We have a specific channel dedicated to these episodes right here. Make sure you guys subscribe to that so we can get that over 100, and we can have that that URL,
nice, pretty concise youtube.com/fanatics4 podcast or something,
and it'll make it so much easier. So please just do that. That's your guys' homework. Please, if you like these, then
we're close.
Right. Yeah, last time I saw, we were like at 80, something like that.
Yeah, we're at like 90 something now.
All right, cool. So yeah,
we're right there. We might already be there. And if we're not, and we're at 99, yeah, I see you. I see you thinking about it.
You can find 99. You can find it on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify. You can find it. A lot of places.
Spotify.
And a lot of other services where podcasts are available, and you'll find us there. Podcasters. Yeah, but you'll find us there. So let's just jump right into it. No, let's.
I don't know how many times we made that joke on this show specifically.
It's a lot. Yeah. So Nintendo cracking down on ROM sites.
This is something that I fought to talk about. I really don't want to talk about it. I really don't. Because I mean, for one, it's not. I mean, it's pretty new news.
It's recent.
We're still talking about it. Like if you search Nintendo, it's going to be amongst the first things that pop up. But it's just such a weirdly controversial issue because it's like so many people feel justified in what they're doing. So that it just becomes this thing of people assuming that you're attacking them because they're like, well, I enjoy partaking in this illegal activity, so therefore I'm going to try to justify it for whatever reason.
Right, exactly.
But you know what? Whatever. Let's just jump into it. No, but so I sent you a link that details what they're doing and how this is a big money threat right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even threat. They're being sued. I don't know how viciously they're going to go after that money specifically, or if that's just a scare tactic to get them to full
ceasefire. Right, you're like, yeah, just freaking stop what you're doing, cease operation, or we will, take this, because it seems like you said, it's very serious. Just the amount of hits that these sites are getting, that amount of traffic is crazy, and that
for sure,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
So okay, where do you fall on this? What do you think about ROMs and stuff like that?
I just feel as though, companies like Nintendo, they're justified in their, it's just, they have a justified stance. You're literally taking money out of their pocket. It's just, and you're using their
devil's advocate.
Right,
I'll wait.
You're using their likeness and everything. Everything. Like they said, the branding, the everything. It's you're really taking these and letting, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you guys just have them for free, whatever. We know this is and people can always argue what's the problem? This is $1 billion company. True, but it's that's still there. All
right, so here's the defenses that I'm seeing, and I think everybody that is familiar with us knows my take on this. I'm pretty sure you know my take on this.
Right?
It's straight up. It's stealing.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah. Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
I don't.
You are literally taking their
and that's not necessarily a judgment call, because it's whatever. If you want to use ROMs, I'm not gonna narc you or whatever, right? But to say that it's not stealing because
you enjoy it,
want to do it, yeah, or it's beneficial to you, it's just a lie. It's ridiculous. Just not truthful. So for me, the defenses that a lot of people are using, the ones that are well, I'm justified in what I'm doing. The biggest ones I'm seeing are, I'm trying to play games that they're not making available to me. I'm trying to play games that they're not making available to me in a convenient way. I'm trying to play games that are not available to me at a reasonable price, or I'm trying to play a game that I already own with the ROM, blah blah blah. That last one, I'm more so like sympathetic
Right.
of that,
Right.
because I still do that where it's like I own Heart Gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's like it's easier to play with a pro controller,
Right?
So I'll use the ROM or whatever. But the rest of those is BS because it's like these defenses, they purport that you're owed access to a consumer product.
Exactly. You're not owed anything. You know, you can go out and get these things that you don't want to do it. So you're looking for a way to.
No, but even if you can't,
it's like
because there are games like, you know, like the English translation of Mother 3.
Yeah,
or
true.
Like some like initially Star Fox 2.
True.
Or like stuff like that, like where it's not playable, purchasable by any means in any territory.
I didn't even think about that. That's very true. That's very true.
That people are like, well, they're not giving it to me, so, and I want to play it, so, you know, but like I don't think that's reason enough to take something.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, it's like that's not cool at all.
And then it's like just the defense of
cool
like, which you already touched on, of like, oh well, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. It's fine. This isn't going to hurt them, or they're not using it anyway, so I'm not taking money from them because they're not making money on it.
It's ridiculous,
or whatever. Like that's not your concern. You have no say in like, oh well, you're not using it anyway, so I'm just going to take this, because it's like to bring it to like terms that we can understand in like a regular person's day-to-day life. That's like the equivalent of me being like, you don't play your Xbox 360 anymore, let me have that, and then you're like, no, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna take it anyway. Like, you don't have the right to do that. Like, I don't have to use the thing that I own.
Exactly.
It's not squatters' rights, you know?
Just because I'm not using it, it's like that's not free access for you to just come in and take whatever you want. And that's the thing.
And we have no clue what they are and are not using. We don't know what they have in development. So, like, and usually when they go after people like this, that usually insinuates that they have some type of product that would be like, it would be in competition with these ROMs in some way. Because like when they took down like the Pokemon
Uranium, that thing.
Pokemon Uranium, that was around the release of Sun and Moon, I think, the original one. And then when they took down the Metroid, another Metroid 2 remake or whatever, that was around the right before the announcement of Metroid 2 Samus Returns or whatever.
Right.
So like I can see them maybe introducing a lot of these games to their streaming service, like the classics library thing. So like on one level, like the defense of like, well, they're not letting me buy it is like dumb. And also it's not even a real defense, because all these things are attainable. It's just not attainable in the way that you want it to be, which is even more stupid. And it's like the people are like, well, the games that I download aren't. You're lying. Because like, if this was truthful, and we went to these ROM sites, and the ROM sites, I mean, these ones specifically got taken down.
Right.
But in any ROM site that ranks games, right, like where they're like, these are the most popular ones. How often do you see Pokemon games always ranking at the top? Super Mario games ranking at the top? Metroid, you know, like, you know, like big, like not big budget necessarily, but like marquee Nintendo titles and even like, you know, like Sony titles, all types of games like that. Yeah, they're so unattainable. Exactly. They don't put a copy of that game on literally every console that they make, with the exception of Switch right now.
Exactly.
And at that point, it's like, well, I only own a Switch. I don't want to spend $100 on a 3D, $20. I mean, not $20, $70 on a 2DS or whatever, right? Like it's not a good defense.
Yeah, it's flimsy, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, you know, it's like I don't know. It's just like, oh, this is convenient for me, so I'm just throwing anything at the wall, and that's what my defense is. You know, this is easier for me to get. You know, it's like it's just,
and it's like I said, it's not truthful, because like the more like Like, I'm a good guy. I'm the good ROM downloader. I only play games that I'm unable to play completely. The games that they don't let me pay them for whatever reason, that aren't available as consumer products, those are the ones I play. Like, that's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I know nobody like that downloads ROMs and they don't have a Pokemon game on their hard drive that they don't own, or a Mario game that they never played as a kid. And a lot of these people
or games that are just like easy to be accessed anyways. You know, it's like you have I got a Pokemon Emerald, and blah, blah, like how hard is it to really go get that game? You know, it's not.
Yeah, like these games are very attainable.
Exactly.
They're not cheap. You know, it's like you can't go and buy Pokemon Heart Gold for $10. It's like $40, $50. But if you want to play it, guess what? It's a legitimate copy. And a lot of things, like another defense is like, well, I don't want to support them because they're hiking the price up, and I don't think it's worth that much. So me buying that game is just supporting the scammer or the I can't think of words right now. But yeah, it's that's flawed because that person has a legitimate copy of the game. So you're not buying anything that they like. ROMs that people made, where they downloaded a ROM and then they put it onto a like reproduction cart.
Right.
That is like a bad road to go down. But if you can go to like a GameStop and verify like, oh, they have a used copy of Pokemon Soul Silver or whatever, I'm going to buy this used. Like, that's preferable to downloading a ROM.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it's you're stealing. You're stealing, and that's just, you can try to justify it any way you want to. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I know that there's definitely going to be people that's like, you're just saying that because you're a Nintendo brand ambassador and blah, blah, blah. No, I would say this regardless. I would say this if this was Sony. I would say this if this was Activision. I would say this, whoever it is, anybody with an IP that they make, a YouTuber, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care if you put up a video one day, right? And then you decide, I want this to be private now. And then people start downloading it and re-uploading it and monetizing it. That's also wrong. Right, I don't care where you're at on the spectrum. If you own an IP, somebody else takes your IP and begins to profit off of it, it's wrong. Period.
Exactly.
Or just take your IP in general. I don't care if they give it away for free. It's wrong. Period.
Right. It's like, it's just the concept. It's just stealing, guys. We all understand what that is.
That said, do what you want to do. But I'm not gonna straight.
Right, I'm not gonna punch him like you're an evil person for like whatever. Like,
for sure.
But
I'm just saying, let's call a spade a spade.
Right.
You're stealing.
Just call it what it is.
It's fine. Like you're not like hurting anybody per se. It's still stealing. But right. It's not the sort of thing that I would be like, oh, well, you're a terrible person, I'll never talk to you or whatever.
Exactly.
Just let's just be truthful to each other, or with each other.
And you know what? Speaking of being truthful, I like when people comment from our community because they are pretty truthful. And someone that always has a recurring like just thought in every single video, and he's weekly just Grimming. They comment and they say, how do you feel about people justifying? Well, he kind of touches on it, but I'll read it. How do you feel about people justifying emulation and piracy of games with the excuse that Nintendo isn't offering Virtual Console or offering the games in any other manner, at least currently? Is Nintendo right to crack down on these people? Nintendo right to crack down on these people since it doesn't hurt Nintendo? That Nintendo should back off? Really hoping that this is on time. Yeah. You were on time.
Yeah. I let them know. Yeah, I mean, we pretty much talked about that. Right. I don't think that they're justified in that. I think that makes them feel better about themselves, saying that, well, they're not giving it anybody. I would give you my money, but you're not letting me. It's like, like you don't have that. That's not your decision to make. Like, even if Nintendo straight up said, like, if they're like, okay, here's a brand new game, brand new Mario game. It's not for sale. period. Right? And then you're like, no, I insist. I'll give you money. I'll give you double. I'll give you $120 for this. And they're like, no. And then you're like, well, since you're not giving it to me, I'm just going to take it. Like, no, that's wrong,
right,
period.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, there was no right to still say no. You know, there was within the right to not give it to you. There are so many instances where we can point out examples to where this type of thing is wrong, but it's like, you know, not going to get into those. But anyway, it's like, just, come on. It's stealing. It's stealing and taking what's not yours, and, you know, you guys know that.
Or do you? Do you know that? Let me know in the comments.
Well, something you should know is that Star Fox could really use something different. And I spoke about this in a video this week. Speaking about my video this week, Star Fox having an open world game. Now, a lot of you guys in the comments, we'll get to it. First of all, I want to see what my co-host thinks. AJ, thoughts on a Star Fox open world game?
I agree. I mean, we talk about this ad nauseum. We always talk about it. We literally always talk about this every single podcast. This is Star Fox, the open world game, the podcast. I agree. I think that it makes sense for Star Fox to be, and a lot of people in the comments were like, "So Mass Effect," and it's like, I don't know about Mass Effect, but that
was funny to me. That was funny. Yeah, I hate when people do that. When people like we talked about before.
That's people's favorite thing to do.
It's like, okay, you're making this game, so you basically want this. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
did I say that?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Maybe call me on this if I'm speaking out of term. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you or anything.
Right, go ahead.
But I'm pretty sure you know what Mass Effect is.
Whatever gives you that. No, seriously. It's like, and I wish we could pull up examples of where this happened. Because this is not the first time this happened. Is when people are like, okay, this is.
It happens every week. It happens literally every week. Every single week.
It's irritating. Speaking of irritating, the first comment. Jake Smith. Appreciate the comment. Thank you for being engaging with our content. We appreciate it. They write. I agree with you honestly. The mere concept of an open world-ish Star Fox game does sound very cool. I like the idea of being able to freely hop from system to system, defeating countless enemy bases, bosses, whatever, both in space and on the surface on planets, and perhaps gradually usurping control of the galaxy back from Andros or something, or better, a new villain. Thank you. That is definitely something that has a lot of potential, and I love to see it explored. Honestly, though, a lot of franchises could work in an open-ended format. Like, imagine an open world Donkey Kong, Kirby. We kind of touched on those. More like Mario Odyssey than actually open world, though. Kid Icarus, Sonic, etc. God, I wish developers were willing to try that sort of thing more often.
The thing about open world games, in quotes, right? I think as time goes on, we're going to see what we see as open world games, or what the general populace sees as open world games, just become the norm, and it's just going to be everything. Because when most people think open world game, they think just big world in a game, right?
Right.
And as developers are afforded more, technologically, games just get bigger. They just grow in scope because of that. So we have the Mario Odysseys, where it's like, at one point in time, it's like that was a Mario 64, where it's like the scope was relatively small, and it was like you repurposed a lot of a few smaller quote unquote worlds or levels, really. Right. It's just those worlds or levels are getting bigger. So it's like a lot of people are like pushing against that, but it's just like that. I mean, that's just how it's gonna go. There's gonna be like that contingent of developers that's like, like anything where the norm becomes one thing, and then they're like, remember when it was like this? Mm-hmm. We're gonna profit off of that. Mm-hmm. Like that. That's what there's going to be a contingent always. That's like, well, we don't want every game to be open world, so we're going to be the studio that gives you the ones that aren't. And I mean, I don't think every game should be open world. Yeah, I literally made a video this week about a game that wouldn't even make sense being open world. But there are in no way, shape, or form. But there are games that lend themselves very naturally,
right?
Like universes, exactly. Not because another weird pitfall that people fall down when talking about or responding to these videos is they're like, well, that's not how you play this game.
Yeah,
and my response to that is always like, well, we didn't play Donkey Kong the same way in 1986 or whatever, not even before that.
Right.
We didn't play Donkey Kong like that.
Right. I mean,
when that game was released.
Yeah, and you're right. Like back to what you said before, just by virtue of the fact of like just technology just progressing, and we're going to see these bigger scale games, and change is inevitably going to happen. Like you spoke on Donkey Kong, like Metroid's another perfect example. Like the first couple Metroid games were not prime at all, like in any sense, you know. But people are so hyped about Metroid Prime 4. Why? Because they're accepting of this change. They're like, okay, this, you know, they were accepting of it over a gradual period of time. I don't understand why we make a video about like this, and people are just so, that's not Star Fox. That's not Star Fox.
I mean,
like,
to be fair, most people are positive on this.
Oh, yeah. For the most part, yeah. But
there's a contingent of people that are like, well, Star Fox to me is, you know, and I mean that's fine and that's fair and everything, but I don't see how what you said, like a discussion I got into in the comments, was this guy that was I think I pulled the comment, so we'll get to that.
Oh.
Matter of fact, let's
speaking of getting to that, we're gonna get into more of these comments.
Let's read that comment first, since like it just naturally goes into that. It's Razor Slash.
Okay, Razor Slash. He says, "You're missing the point by thinking in terms of characters and universe only. Star Fox, the game itself, has always been a shmup?
A shmup.
Shmup. Okay. Interesting choice of word there. With a focus on scoring, except for adventures, but that game is a failure for various reasons anyway. Jeez, ouch. To some degree. But by asking for an open world exploration game, you're basically saying, nah, I don't really like Star Fox, so make the game and dress it up like Star Fox. The problem is that Nintendo insists on doing weird-ish nobody asked for with the series, instead of building upon genuinely interesting ideas for the genre, like what Assault did with being able to switch between vehicles during missions, but, you know, actually not making a sloppy as heck game with like Assault is.
You can say hell. You can say hell. Hell's fine.
You're yeah, you didn't want to test the waters too much. Your Zelda example is flawed because Breath of the Wild takes from Zelda's already strong points, exploration, various tools, etc., and takes it even further, which is not what you're proposing for Star Fox.
Which this I take issue with, because that's completely false. It is what you were proposing. You're saying, let's take that space exploration, that dog fighting element of the Star Fox franchise, and expand on it to what you can infer the world is post that dogfight.
Right.
You know, like
right.
Star Fox doesn't literally live in his R-Wing.
Right, exactly.
So just confining the game to that 45 minutes or whatever, right, just does not make sense for a marquee title. And it's not something that is going to like sell gangbusters at a, again, AAA price or even AA price. Because that's just not enough anymore. A 45-minute game is not enough in 2018.
Exactly.
A big publisher.
And I'm glad you touched on that, because we have so many games where it's like Nintendo's competing against itself, honestly, at this point. You know, so like these grand games like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and you're gonna come with a Star Fox 45 minutes long. Like it could have all the bells and whistles of their old Star Fox, and people could love it. I'm just like, that's just not enough. You know, we enough of these recreations. We gotta think bigger in terms of this game, in terms of the series. And like you said, it's just not just it's not okay. I'm sitting in my R-Wing and that's it. You know, it's like,
exactly.
Why not go bigger? Why not do this type of thing?
It's like a game about space exploration not having what Star Fox is, and that exploration doesn't make any sense, right? Like, even in No Man's Sky, there's dogfighting now. I mean, you know, like, so Star Fox could very much so take after games like No Man's Sky, take after games like Beyond Good and Evil 2, you know?
Exactly.
Like, it just makes sense. In that universe, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Period.
And
like,
I don't
no matter how much people want to fight back against that and say, like, no, I want Star Fox to always be blank. I'm sure that people are like, I don't want to play as Donkey Kong. I want to play against him. You know, it's like...
Well, another thing I want to touch on, like just in general for these videos, when we introduce an idea, we're not saying, okay, include this at the expense of this. You know, these things that can very well still be incorporated. We're not just going to take away, you know, a core of it. We still want that to be there, but we're saying expand upon that. Think, you know, more instead of it's an also type of thing. It's not a either or type of issue here. I think that's kind of missed on a lot of our videos. People are like, oh, you want this, and you want this other thing to die in a burning fire because you obviously hate it. I mean, even in that comment,
I'm fine with.
Even
in this case, I'm fine with the you know, on rails shooter that is Star Fox as we know it dying. I'm completely okay with that. Like, just like I was fine. Granted, I was born post this, but I was fine when Donkey Kong became a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right.
I was fine when Metroid became a 3D, you know, semi-open world, you know, like full like Halo-esque sort of situation. You know, minus the multiplayer aspects. For the most part.
Right, yeah. So
like games evolve. Newsflash, hey, you know,
right,
sure,
exactly.
If everybody was tuned into how the world works, but things evolve, they change, and it's possible to take the core of a franchise that is more often than not simpler and easier to change than most people think. Because most people think like Pokemon is the big one, right? Like Pokemon is, and then they list off everything that Pokemon games are right now verbatim.
Yeah.
Rather than saying this is what makes Pokemon special. Random encounters is not what makes Pokemon special. Period. Like, sorry about it, but that's not. You know?
Exactly.
Like, so even like the battle system is not what makes Pokemon special.
It's what you got used to, but it's not what exactly. It's not what, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like people hold on to their what they first fell in love with the series, and that's, like I said, it's like how I talked about Star Fox 64 not being the game upon which we should set a standard for like the whole entire like franchise as a whole. Like it just shouldn't be done. And like it's crazy to me because we've seen so many series take these shifts, and there will see people will be so pissed if they was like, okay, we're not doing any more 3D Marios ever again. Like no more Odyssey style games. People would be so upset. But even like, you know, it's like even that came at a time where, like, when that was introduced, people weren't, you know, they were like, oh, this is what? Mario's not about this. I don't know. It's crazy.
Mario's not about being 3D.
Exactly. Yeah, and now you can't imagine like gaming.
Mario's not about riding on dinosaurs.
It's like seriously, and now people can't imagine. Like what? What do you mean you're not making another Odyssey type game?
You're not putting Yoshi in this game?
Like, seriously.
It's just like it happens all the time.
And what happens all the time is Cassandra Fox commenting in the comments, and he always says something interesting. This time they write, sounds more like the Odyssey of Star Fox than the Breath of the Wild of Star Fox, with using the Great Fox as a travel hub between large areas with multiple things to do and areas to explore, which could work very nicely indeed, and is very definitely something I'd be interested in checking out. Personally, I prefer a fully voiced, story-driven game with plenty of free-form missions with multiple ways of achieving objectives, similar to the terrain mode of Assault, and plenty of side objectives. Basically, go all out Uncharted on the franchise. Tends to be more Sony's thing than Nintendo's, sure, but Nintendo does have a few story-driven franchises, so it isn't completely out of the realm of possibility. Completely agree here.
Agree.
Yeah, completely agree with this comment here.
Just because, like, all of the big three, they do something way better than the other guys, right? Yeah. Like I always say, like online multiplayer games is Microsoft's thing, in comparison to the big three. Sony's thing is like the big budget story.
Those blockbuster like story type of right.
Yeah. And then Nintendo, their bread and butter really is couch multiplayer. You know, like the games that you want to all sit together and play, like with the Smash Brothers and stuff like that. But outside of that, like the attachment to that is like the fun to play. You know, like the gameplay driven experiences for like the single player games and stuff like that. Yeah. They don't, like, all of them could use better like versions of what the other guys produce. Like Nintendo could definitely use more really good online multiplayer games. Sony can use more IP that people care about, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, both of them
true.
can,
That's
really.
True,
I mean, of course, like, there's going to be people like, oh, I care about Sony's IP, but, like, you don't really. You know, like, most people don't really care about Sony's IP like they care about Nintendo's IP. Like, even, like, I wouldn't even say Microsoft has a Halo, where it's like people have that type of attachment to their IP. Maybe Crash Bandicoot is, well, that's not Sony's anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Not now, but yeah.
But yeah, maybe that was that. But outside of that, I don't feel like they really have that.
It's like Uncharted that finished. You know, who knows? But like, well, that's gonna, you know. But I mean, they're probably gonna keep. I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
And we all know that Microsoft they need the IP too. Basically, where I'm going with that is Nintendo could definitely use the Sony like level of or not level the Sony specialty. They could definitely use more story driven games, and they have the IP that would naturally fit in that. They have Metroid, they have even Kid Icarus, they have F-Zero. F-Zero could definitely be story driven. They have Star Fox. There's only a few that maybe honestly like two big Nintendo IP that are like I don't think makes sense in like a let me steer you in this direction type of story, you know, like a handcrafted story, and that would be Pokemon, because it's more like this is your story, so it's harder to make a story be like that big and like bombastic, you know, if it's supposed to be telling your story, you know. It's hard to attach yourself to something if you characterize the story that much, which is why Breath of the Wild is so weird. Because it's the same thing. Like Link has to be like this stoic, like faceless puppet, as it were, for you to like project yourself onto.
Right.
And then the other franchise that I would say doesn't make sense is Mario. Mario doesn't really make a whole lot of sense with like a big like story.
Oh,
Granted,
no.
They could do like a story like on the level of like a Pixar sort of situation.
Yeah.
Because Mario is kind of like a defined character. Like there's attributes of him. There's not really personality traits, I guess. But there's definitely personality traits to literally everybody else.
I could definitely see them throwing together, you know, a nice, funny little story for Mario. Something like, you know, something like lighthearted, like But yeah, nothing like seriously like heavy or, you know, yeah, just something fun, you know. Like I feel like
yeah,
Odyssey,
Mario's not turned into The Last of Us.
Right. I feel like Odyssey had a nice little, you know, nice.
Nah, I think the Odyssey's like.
I mean, I hated the way that ended. It freaking.
Yeah, that's true. But it's more on like the outskirts of what I'm talking about. It's not really like it's not as deep as I think it could be. But yeah. It definitely is more story focused than most Mario games, I would say, but not all.
Right. Yeah. I think Galaxy had okay ones as well.
Yeah. And I would say probably the not best in terms of like the most story-ish, like this is a plot sort of thing, I would probably say is Sunshine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, now I think about it, it's like heavy, kind of heavy, a lot heavier story for Mario.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like this thing of like, oh hey, save Peach, or
you're saving these islands, you know,
something, you know,
and it's like
and also you're like clearing your name, you know,
that was true. Yeah, he
stuff.
was in the beginning. Yeah, they had him on trial and everything. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, I forgot about that. But I didn't think about the last comment. That was nice, right? PJ Wolfie says, Star Fox is underappreciated. Thank you. As the characters have personalities.
I like how you said thank you as if you made him.
In some ways, I did. No, and Fox is my favorite Nintendo character because he isn't supposed to be a good guy, as he's only in it for money. What? Only in it for the money. Also, Fox love interest is actually a character instead of Peach, who is just an easy plot device to come up with a reason for Mario to fight Bowser. Ouch!
I mean, that's kind of what we just said, more or less. I mean, she kind of is. Peach is a garbage human, though. Like, Odyssey confirmed.
Yeah, Peach is
trash.
Yeah, she's pretty bad. I don't like her, honestly. I like Daisy better.
Yeah, same.
That's funny.
Even though Daisy's also like annoying, but Daisy's just annoying because her voice. You know, you can't really blame her for that.
He said Fox is only in it for money. AJ, what are your thoughts about? That?
I mean, he kind of is.
Yeah.
He kind of is.
I mean, he does want to like do his duty and everything like that. But you don't think he cares about the La La system? He wants to protect and that's, avenge his father, James McLeod.
That's also true. That's fair. But the money's a big motivation.
The money's the motivation.
Yeah.
I can't mad at that. I'm not mad at him. Want to do right, but also want to get his paper too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of makes sense, a 2D Mario needs to happen for the Switch. Yes.
It does at 100%.
I actually wanted to recreate your intro. Yes. I mean, we don't need it, but give me.
Because I know, like, it always happens. Every time we put that in the comments, like, people take it so literal, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need it. Like, it's just a game." Shut up. Like, you are aware. It's rules. YouTube. You know the rules. Like, you understand that people don't click on videos that's just like, "Hey, I would really like a 2D Mario game that's not New Super Mario Bros. Again, please. Thank you." Smiley face. Like, people wouldn't click on that. So guess what? I gotta tell you what the video is about, and as few words as possible that are like evocative. Exactly. It makes you want to click it.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, maybe you want to click it to be like, "Oh, you said need and you whatever."
You gotta give them the hook, and it's like the Switch is like it's just the perfect. We need that. It's just a perfect.
No, concept. We don't need it. No,
it was just made for that type of game. You know, it's like. Just portable mode, just sitting back playing. Oh man, what are you, Nintendo? What are you doing?
I mean, to be fair, they're doing the smart thing, because it would have been so annoying if the first Mario game that they put on there. To be fair, the first Mario game they put on there was Mario plus Rabbids or whatever. But the first Nintendo developed Mario game on their next system was another 2D Mario game. That would have been the most annoying thing in the world. So I'm glad that they didn't, but I think it's time. I think it's time that we get another one, or at least an announcement of one that comes out next year, or maybe even the year after that. Just let me know. Let me know what's happening. Let me know you hear me.
Speaking of that, I think it's time to get in these comments, and we're going to let you know that they heard you in the video. We're going to get into what they've been talking about. Benjamin Aquino. Aquino.
Let me know. Tweet me, because he's one of the more dedicated viewers. He's an OG.
They say, I agree. The art style is now holding back the 2D platform Mario. I personally think the Nintendo Super Mario U,
New Super Mario
U, and the new Super Luigi U were great, but they could have been even better in a brand new style. I also think this would have helped to further differentiate the Wii from the Wii U, as it was a launch title.
That's true. That's very true. Because, it just feels so, I mean, I talked about this a lot in the video. It feels soulless, really. Which is weird for Nintendo. It's rare for them to,
bringing up how, the changes are so subtle from before, when they were so granular and, between these.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think subtle's the right word. They're so really minimal, honestly. They change, it's like New Super Mario Bros. Is the Call of Duty of Nintendo games. We have this formula. We know people love this formula. Right. It's this super popular thing. So we got to thread the needle. We got to add enough new things that makes people feel like this is different from the last one that they bought. Mm-hmm. But we can't change it too much so that it's unfamiliar and it's no longer that series that they're like, oh, well, this isn't what I veg out on,
Yeah.
And that's the tightrope that you walk on for casual series, right? The more hardcore stuff, like the 3D Mario games and the Zeldas and stuff like that, they have a dedicated fan base that'll play it just because it's that, just because it's another Zelda game. But the casual audience is just oh, this is that Mario game that I used to play when I was a kid.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And it's it's almost targeted as see, it's not risky. It's not risky, buy it,
Right, exactly.
Right, and it's which
Which again, like I said in the video, I respect it. I'm moderately jealous of it as a creator myself, but as a consumer, I'm disappointed.
Right, exactly.
Because I want more than that. I don't want to play the same game with small changes here and there.
You know, that sense you just say, that echoes a lot about the last video we talked about. But that sounds very similar. That's funny. I love through lines. And speaking of things I love comments. So we're gonna get right into the next one. Justin Lantham.
I don't love him.
Not me either. I would like to see more. Yo, you're funny. I would like to see more inventive level design and mechanics. Maybe use that Snipperclips IP to bring some fun puzzles into the levels? ? I feel as though Yoshi for Switch is a good example of where it's trying to bring new fun ideas into the mix, and new Super Mario Brothers is staying the same.
That's fair. As far as I like the idea of the Snipperclips thing. I'm not sure if they need the IP. Maybe a lot of the ideas, maybe a wink and a nod.
Have we seen enough of Yoshi on Switch to say it's a good example of a?
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
that's why I prefaced it.
Yeah.
That's why I prefaced it with the Snipperclips thing.
I was like, have we seen enough of that yet?
It definitely doesn't seem like. Granted, a lot of Woolly World does have a fair amount of new ideas. So from the look of this looks like glimpses of what we got from Woolly World and stuff like that.
Justin, it's up in the air. It's up in the air, Justin.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. We're waiting on full reveal. TBD.
Exactly.
We can move to the next comment. We don't got to spend a lot of time on Justin.
We're not even going to give you the respect of giving you a good segue out of your comment into the next one. No, but he's going to listen and hate that. Good, yes. J Drisk 1. It's hard to be innovative with a 2D side-scrolling style without it losing its original integrity. Don't get me wrong. I personally can't wait for another Mario Bros. Game. But I just hope they don't go down the lines of Mario Maker creating levels because they are just chaos normally. I'm sure Nintendo have something up their sleeves. I don't think they've given too many reasons to doubt them. They just need to hurry the hell up.
Hack. No.
Yeah, right?
But no. I partially agree with this. I disagree with the first sentence. The first sentence is hard disagree. I don't think that it's.
It's hard to be innovative with 2D.
Yeah. I don't think it's hard to be, especially seasoned game developers that spend that is literally their day job to be innovative. I don't think it's hard for them to think of new game design ideas, and I think that I don't think that the level design is necessarily the thing that needs the big change. I just think that the mechanics could use some additions.
Right,
Mario Odyssey added so many different mechanics.
How you attack the stages, how you control. Yeah. Exactly. There's so many like Dan said. There's so many ways to just jump. You know, he said in the video, there's so many ways to just jump.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Shout out Dan. I see you in the Q&A. We'll get to you, buddy. But it's there's so many ways to go about these things. It's you just it's not a level design thing. It's add some new mechanics, make Mario do something he never did before in 2D games. You'd be like, oh, this is freaking awesome.
Yeah. But as for the rest of it, I mean, it's hard to tell them to hurry up, If we want innovation, don't hurry up, unless you have an idea already, which I'm sure that they do. I'm positive that when Nintendo's making games, they have a whole bunch of ideas and they're let's run with this one, let's table those other ones for later. Those first three, really good, but this one's better, so let's or more developed even. So let's table those three and come back to those later. They probably have tons of ideas to continue to develop on every franchise that they have, not just Mario. So yeah, I don't hurry, but hurry while taking care.
And we take care of this podcast. We do it every single week. But I'm gonna hurry to the next comment. Brooks Eagleston? Yes.
Yeah, Brooks.
Brooks.
Everybody subscribe to Brooks. Patreon.com/Bagel Denizen. All right.
There you go. Plug, blah, blah. Character Design Forge. A fresh 2D art style, especially a hand-drawn one, is a really exciting idea. Cuphead proved there's still interest in 2D, and Mario could easily appropriate that and use the art style of Super Mario 1, 2, 3 promo art.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that they can definitely do that, and I think they could be more efficient at it because Nintendo is a company of thousands, and Cuphead was developed by what? 2 people.
Right, exactly. And
so I can definitely see them be more efficient at that.
Shout out to you mentioning Cuphead. I love that game so much. I can't wait for the next one. They need the freaking. I mean, I know the DLC. I think is that out? Is that coming? I don't know, but get on track here. On to the Q&A segment. So I didn't have a good segue for that one. I kind of just it's all right. Yeah, so guys, be sure to leave your questions and we will answer them. Things that you just leave them in the Discord or YouTube community, and we'll get to them. We'll get to them and we'll answer them honestly. So don't get offended if we destroy you like we did Justin earlier. On to the first question. Pint of Milk. Love the channel. Who comes up with the video ideas? And also, will you make a video about Mario Party predicting modes? 3 confirmed, but maybe a race to the finish. And maybe even retro mini games being in that game, etc. First of all, thank you for the comment.
Me mostly.
Yeah, it'll like but yeah, like with the video ideas, if I can't, I'm like AJ, throw me a bone here. But it depends. It depends on the.
Yeah, sometimes it's like a lot of times you'll just come up with something, and then like there'll be times where I'll help you like massage that into something more palatable or marketable or whatever. Right. There's other times where you just make something. It's just like I want to talk about Mario Party. I mean, for me, it's. Usually, I can't think of a time where you were like, "Hey, make this." So for me, I could probably say 100% me. For you, I would say it's like 60 you, 40 me.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Yeah, I'll stay. And I think the thing about it is as well. You stay, you have your ear to the ground, so to speak, with this stuff. You're like, you're more like, hey, this is going on. This is this would be a perfect, appropriate time to mention this, and
right.
You trust me enough to be like, okay, he'll execute this, and then we'll take it from there. But 11 out of 10 times to see a Star Fox video, I pulled that one.
Yeah, he just was like, not 11 out of 10, 9 times out of 10, because Justin did poke at you for the Grand Prix one.
That is true. He did bait me, and he knew that was coming.
Yeah, but most times if it's a Star Fox video, I need to make a Star Fox video.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Because these people don't know that I like Star Fox too, but I just let you do that. Just like you care about Star Fox way more than I do. I love Star Fox. So I wouldn't say it's not even like a Pokemon situation where it's like I love Pokemon and you kind of like Pokemon. It's like I love Star Fox too, but you just love it more.
Yeah, right.
So maybe one of these days.
That's pretty much that.
Yeah.
Lake Lander. I really like Logan's idea of an open world Star Fox game. Can we hear more about how Nintendo could make it not too big since it is space? How big are the planets? How long would it be to take to travel from planet to planet? What type of main story and side quests would there be? How do you streamline the game?
I think the easiest way to do that is to handle it kind of like Kid Icarus, where it's not a combination between like Kid Icarus and like Mario Odyssey, where you're going from one place to another. And it's like this defined, like, okay, it's taking place within the Lilat system. Right. And the scope of this game is these 10 planets, right? But rather than like in Mario Odyssey where you're like, I want to go to the Lost Kingdom, and you just have that canned cutscene, you have a level where you're flying through to, or just like it's just like space is the hub world, and you can just fly wherever, you know.
Right.
And it's like I'm going to set my navigation to Corneria or whatever.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And I don't know, maybe it's like somewhat how No Man's Sky handles it, but like smaller scale. Where it's like No Man's Sky could literally be like, I want to go to this planet, and if I don't use any type of crazy boost or anything like that, it's going to take me 4 hours.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
Like that sort of thing, like that, but on a smaller scale. But the thing that would be hard about that is that they would have to fill that with stuff. You can't just be flying on an R-wing for 42 minutes. And it's just the vastness of space, you know, like random stuff has to happen. There has to be detours. It has to have that Breath of the Wild effect of like, I was heading to Corneria, but like, what's that over there? You know?
Right.
So, I mean, it would definitely be like it would have to be a more ambitious game, and they would have to like believe in they would have to believe in the vision of the game itself, like that, not the IP, but they would have to think that the game is so good.
It's standalone on its own too, rather than the IP it's representing. It's that's just what it is. I feel like I think as far as what getting into what he said about how big the plants would be, I think that would just vary upon not like too big where it's like you're like lost every five minutes. Like, okay, where am I going? But it's sizable enough, where it feels like you're getting something out of visiting these places. You're not just, it's not just like a corridor or something like really small or like a linear path. So I feel like that would kind of defeat the purpose. That'd be kind of weak. Yeah, like you said, I think it'd be like a short, like you said, shorter like No Man's Sky type of thing.
Yeah.
Keep it seamless. Make these things make it like a interesting experience. Don't make it too long to get these places. Because I feel like that would just be it would break away from the excitement. It would just take away from the it takes too long to get from Corneria to Venom or wherever you're going. It would just be irritating.
Because I mean, ideally you want to try to make the game, maybe for this one, 70-30 space to ground. Where it's like you spend most of your time and most of the game happens in space. But I mean, technically everything happens in space. But it happens in like open space. And then the nuts and bolts of like, okay, I have to deliver this, or I have to get this guy, or I have to do, like that happens on the planet. But not a lot of that time is spent on foot. But there's still like those things of like, well, this is what we have to do on foot. There's boss battles that some of them are like on foot combat, like stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, and I think that kind of answered the question of how we go about streamlining the game. It's just don't overcomplicate things. It's like just make it big enough, but like to where it feels like you're exploring and you're tapping into this. You don't got to do a whole complete 180 and just freaking make it so grand that it's confusing for people and intimidating. Honestly, because that would just be for somebody who's like just getting into this, like, I don't know, this is a lot to take in, something that's not too intimidating for people to jump into. I think that'd be a nice way to do it.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that would,
agreed.
Yeah, Jordan the best. At this point, I don't think Mario Odyssey DLC is happening. I'm willing to bet it's probably because it's became its own game. Okay, little typo there.
Oh, he's saying like he thinks that maybe they started developing a DLC for Mario Odyssey and it became a Mario Galaxy 2 situation. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw Mario Odyssey DLC, because Nintendo did like make a big deal about their desire to support their games with DLC, like their big releases.
Right.
And kind of, I mean, on the same token of like what I said about Smash Brothers, of like there's just there's Nintendo releases that are like, you're insane if you don't think that that's going to get DLC of some kind. I think Mario is kind of on this like weird like in this weird middle ground of like I could see them like just saying like, no, Mario's too big for DLC, right? Like we could fully monetize this again and like charge $60 for this. Why would we make a $30 piece of DLC or whatever?
Right.
But I could see it going either way. I could see them announcing in September, them saying like, "Hey, Mario Odyssey DLC, it's $25. It's coming out next month." Like I could just as easily see them doing that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I think it just depend on the scale. Like how big are they planning to go, if at all? Like, you know, if they're planning to do like you can play as this character on this part, as 20 different missions. I'm like, okay, you might as well just put that on a separate package entirely. But if it's something like, you know, something smaller, adding like you know, of course that the possibility is still there. Because how many DLCs do we get so far?
For like in general,
just in general for Odyssey.
Oh, you mean like updates
Right,
and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
like, we got a couple. It's like a couple like trickle in here stuff here and there, like the Luigi's balloon race or whatever it's called.
Okay.
The like different suits and stuff like that. Like I'd say that they updated the game at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
With like little bits and pieces.
Yeah, we're not going to see anything grand like here's a new kingdom type of thing.
I could see that, but we're not getting that for free.
No idea, heck no. Yeah, so I don't know. I think the jury's still out on it. I don't think we've seen the last of it. If Mario plus Rabbids can get DLC, then you can bet Mario Odyssey can get DLC. Yeah. We got Julian Frias. What Nintendo IPs do you think could translate well into a mobile game / app? WarioWare.
I mean,
WarioWare.
Well, next question. Yeah, because like WarioWare kind of just like really invented like the type of games that at least initially really flourished on like the different app stores and stuff like that. Like Angry Birds is a WarioWare mini game through and through.
Right.
You know, like that's definitely something that is.
It was always the ADHD, the Mario Party. It was like the mini games are super short. You know, it's like this is like, like before, and that's like now with the majority of the mobile games are. It's like, okay, here's these like your quick fix when you're on the toilet or wherever you are, and that's, you know, WarioWare was that before anything. So that would easily transition out. I download that right now. They had it out. What?
Right. Same.
Jewish Plays, they say. I know the best Pokemon game is Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but what do you think is the second best? I think it's Black 2 and White 2. Thoughts?
I actually skipped Black 2 and White 2. I don't remember.
I haven't paid those. I said paid. I haven't played those either. Well, I haven't paid either, but I haven't got those. I'm getting those too.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta pick those up and check them out because I do hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people being like, "No, Heart Gold is not the best game. Black 2, White 2 is."
It was Diamond and Pearl after that, correct? After Black.
No. Diamond and Pearl was before Black and White.
Oh. Okay. I don't know.
Well, you see, Logan, the history of Pokemon.
right.
I'm not.
Keep me up to speed.
But yeah, I don't know. As far as like the ones that I've played. It's tough.
X and Y.
I could see a case for. I mean, I could see a case for X and Y. I definitely could. I could see great.
Those games are great.
The 3DS is weird though. Because the 3DS it immediately showed its age. You know, where it's like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be the type of console that I'm specifically going to want to play for very long. Because it just like the frame drops were ridiculous. I never saw a frame drop in a Pokemon game, but here we are.
Well, you know, I will say this. You know, I'm not like I said. And I know I sound like the person who's like, okay, Logan, your opinion? Come on, you're not even heavy invested. And I feel like that's why I feel like I'd put X and Y there just because of like someone like myself who's not really as invested as like say you or Justin or like, you know, in this realm. Actually, when I got that game said okay, sit down, you're gonna play me, you're gonna freaking because it just incorporated so many new things, and it just, you know, it It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing for you though
Mm-hmm.
with X and Y specifically is like Pokemon. Like you're like on the cusp of like, or Pokemon specifically is on the cusp of being something that you would dump hundreds of hours into,
Right.
just because it's the type of game that you play anyway. But it just doesn't have enough of what it is, right? Because like for the most part, you don't like. It doesn't seem like you prefer to play those type of like big like RPGs on a handheld, which I find weird because I do.
Right, yeah.
But a lot of times you're just like, no, I'm just gonna sit down and play Persona 5 for 90 hours or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think that like a more grand Pokemon. I think the next maybe not Pokemon Let's Go, but the next like Gen 8 Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
I can see you like really like
Yeah.
being on board with that.
Yeah.
Even more so than X and Y, because X and Y was like you cleared the story, right? But with this, I can see you really diving in and being like, no, I'm battling.
Right.
I want to learn about IVs and all that crap.
I'm not ready for you yet, but you know, wait, man, we'll see one day. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I'd be willing to bet on that. Like, with you, I think you're going to like deep dive into it with Gen 8.
All right.
Assuming that they make it that, you know, like that console experience, not necessarily like the full HD, like realistic, blah blah, but like on the level of like a Persona 5, I can see you really
for sure
diving in.
For sure. Cause I like Coliseum for what it was back in the day, but you know, it's nothing compared to what the handhelds, but still.
Yeah.
And speaking of nothing compared to something else, Dan, I don't know where I was going with that. Dan, we brought you up earlier. What video game character would you punt without a second thought? That's funny. Toad.
That's true.
Toad.
That's true.
He's sizable enough for it, and I just don't really care for Toad either way. He's just there.
Toad.
Definitely.
Toad. Yeah, Toad.
One Peso ask another hypothetical question. If you could wipe your memory and play one Nintendo game all over again blind, what game would it be and why? Hey.
Breath of the Wild. Because it's just like it has that element of it where it's like I feel like I feel jealous of people when I hear them talking about I'm playing Breath of the Wild for the first time, because like it's so much of how that game's like appeal is like the what's that.
Right,
you know,
right,
it's
right.
like the exploration of it all, the discovering the different mechanics, and like, can I do that? Oh shoot, I can do that. You know, like I don't have those moments anymore because I put 250 something hours into it or whatever. So it's not a thing of like me being like, if I throw this at this like that and hit them here and do that, what's going to happen after the fact? You know, right? Like I probably already know. I probably already tried it. So to be able to experience that again, I'd be down for that.
Man, that's a tough one, bro. That's a real tough one, cause man, I'm gonna have to go nostalgia on this one, full nostalgia. I'm gonna have to say Smash Bros. Melee, just cause like
nerd.
Well, then again, I'd have to erase was Melee. I'd have to erase the other games too. I'd have to erase the ones that came after that, because I wouldn't be as surprised with Melee. But I mean, just that like.
I mean, yeah, that is true. Like Melee is like the last Smash Brothers game where it's like, what?
Exactly.
Mewtwo?
That excited the crap out of me as a kid. That was what. That was awesome. Before the internet.
Yeah.
And before we go, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 29 of the podcast. AJ, final thoughts.
Well, for my final thoughts this time, it's a little bit darker than usual.
What?
Yeah, no jokes here. So I'm sure you guys heard about fierce editor, veteran editor, a phenomenal editor that inspired the style of this channel, Ronnie Ani Edwards.
Oh yeah.
Passed away. Unfortunately, I definitely wanted to touch on that because, as Matt said, in his video about this situation, he's definitely inspired a lot of different creators, and we're one of them, or a channel that was inspired by his work, and like the quality of his work and the look of his work, right?
Right.
Like that's very much so a thing of like, we got it all the time. We get it less so now, but in the beginning of our channel, we would always get like this is a game theory style, you know, like this looks like game theory, you know, and that was like that. Usually people get upset by that sort of thing where it's like you compare somebody to another thing, but we were stoked on it. We're like, yo, we're doing something right, you know, exactly. Like people compare us to Privilege. That, dope. So yeah, and also like I know like obviously we're friends with Dan. Dan works with the game theory, so he knew Ronnie. I'm not sure if he was like super close to him because he is like relatively new to that team. But yeah, so I just wanted to like we don't personally know him, but we respect him a lot. And yeah, so like, I wanted to definitely talk about that situation,
right? And
express condolences.
Yeah, definitely. It's a terribly sad situation, and condolences go out to Matt and Ronnie's family, by extension. Like you said, just seeing the early game theory and just seeing how those were crafted and just feeling inspired enough to want to follow in that kind of vein, and it's and he was an integral part of like you said, second to only Matt and Stephanie. So it's like it's terribly sad terribly sad news, and I just can't imagine, man. That's terrible. But
yeah, that's rough for sure.
But like Matt said, his memory will be forever, and not only just us, but other creators as well. And it's crazy because like he influenced us, and we influence a good number of people. I don't know how many of our subscribers are probably want to do the things that we do, So
right.
And I feel like it's a trickle down effect that the influence is definitely felt, and it's that's, man, rest in peace, man.
Sure. Sorry to end on that sad note. But it's just not right to, right. To make it funny after that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
we gotta just, hard stop. Goodbye.
Right.
Thank you for listening to this episode directly to you.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you again next week. All right. Bye. Take care.